Hi everyone, this is my third video in how municipal government works, and this one's on municipal finance and powers. So there's a few different things to talk about here. The first thing I'll say is the two does not necessarily go together, but they definitely do. Because if you want to spend money, you have to know where it's coming from. So that's why those two are put together. So I'll begin with saying a few things about where the money comes from and where it goes, and then I'll go into a laundry list of programs and services typically managed by municipalities. So the money really comes from three sources. The first is grants by the provincial government. They usually amount to about 45, 30 to 35 to about 50% of municipal revenue, depending on the province. These grants take several different forms. The first form is, of course, a block operational grant. So the province says, hey, you Toronto, here's $3 million to spend as you want. And those are becoming a lot rarer. There's also some program-specific grants. So, hey you, Toronto, here's, I don't know, $2 million. And this is using a very small amount. But here's $2 million to run the social assistance system, which amounts to 80% of Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support Program, and 100% of the administrative and drug costs for the program. So those are really the two major ones. Some provinces have other grants, which are other revenue-specific grants, such as 1% of the municipal sales tax. In, I believe it is British Columbia, it goes to municipalities. The second source of municipal revenue everyone knows and loves as the property tax. Property tax increase or decrease depending on the value of your property. Usually there's some sort of assessment, which is mandatory for your property. In Ontario, it's the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation that does it. And then the third type of revenue is user fees. So you want to take the Montreal Metro, you pay $2.75 or whatever it is for a monthly bus pass. I pay $38, but I'm a student. Well, technically still a student. So that's how that works. The third type is becoming more and more a revenue enhancer. A lot of municipalities are saying, well, for water and sewer, you're paying what we're paying. We're going to pass almost 100% of our revenue on to you. So those are the three main sources there. Now, it comes out in a number of different ways. The most expensive municipal government program is protection services. So you have the police, which is probably the most municipalities' number one expense. Police runs anyway from about 30 to 50 maybe in some cases even 60% of municipal expenditures. You also have the fire department, which can run, usually 20 to about 30%. Ambulances in provinces, which ambulances are ran by the municipality, usually about 10 to 20%. And like I said, it's all variable. Most provinces does not pass on social assistance cost to municipalities. Ontario does, BC does in limited roles, a few other provinces do. In those, it's usually a fixed percentage of the cost of social assistance, and it usually runs a good chunk of change, 15-20% of municipal expenditures. But like I said, you really can't compare one province to another on that front. And you really, even in some cases, can't compare municipalities within a single province on that front, because, for example, Toronto will be having more social assistance troubles than, say, Sudbury. But that's one thing that it comes from. There also is roads, which is a big expenditure. Roads and other transportation services. Roads are heavy when it comes to repair. There's major upkeep costs with those. Other transportation services, buses are very expensive to operate and very expensive to buy. For example, a average bus, you're looking at anywhere between 50 to 100,000 per bus, if not more. You have buses, you have, in 3 major Canadian cities, you have metro or some sort of light rail. Ottawa's getting a metro now. That has huge startup and overhead costs, and the costs are recurring as the equipment ages. You also have Parks and Recreation. Parks and Recreation is not exactly usually the biggest big cost. You have a number of different arenas. We are Canadian, we like hockey, and it's sacrilegious for us not to have an arena close to us. Those have equipment costs. Usually it's not the most human resource heavy cost as well, mainly because for arenas and pools, you typically have a younger staff. So you have management, which is more expensive, but then you have most of the frontline staff are usually younger, in many cases high school or university students, who are quite frankly cheaper than, a constable that makes 75,000 a year for police or fire. So you have those. Of a number of different other powers that have very little cost associated with them. Water and sewer, most municipalities have a policy of 100% get back from it. So no matter what they pay, they will always get back 100% of the money through user fees, what they put in. Park and Recreation, I said, also has heavily reliant on user fees. When you think about it, the average pool, $1, $2, some cases even $4 or $5 to get in. You get 90 people, you're pretty well making back a lot of what you are putting out. For operational, equipment wise, you probably are not, but operational wise, you're more or less breaking even. Water, sewer, usually you're getting out what you're putting back in. Planning is a major municipal responsibility, but the current trend is through user fees and through own responsibilities. You're getting back a lot of what you're putting back in. If I want to change the zoning regulations, I have to pay for a zoning change. I have to pay an application fee, and in most places I have to pay zone planning consultants to create the plans to zone. Council usually is not a big expense for municipalities. Councils usually run anywhere between 0.5% of municipal expenditure to 1% of 1 or 2% of municipal expenditure. In some cases, it can be as high as 5%, but that's a very rare case. And then you have the vital stats role. Most municipalities have some sort of vital stats role. So marriage licenses, civil marriages, of course, stuff, hatch, mash, and dispatch, funerals, death certificates, stuff like that. That is a very small percentage of municipal expenditure, and it's usually included in the clerk's office, so it's usually very little. So that's basically, I viewed what municipalities do in this video through what expenses they have. So that's this week's video. I'll be back with a commentary Thursday or Friday. I have no clue what it's going to be on. The news will move me to something. And that's basically it from me now. Keep the comments coming. Keep subscribe. And I hope everyone have a good week.